Now, Tom has 3 serious, almost constant drains on his attention. And because of this, his ability and capacity to deal with what's going to be thrown at him is going to be diminished, and it's likely that he's going to make mistakes at work. He's become more irritable with friends and family, possibly drink, and perhaps become run down. Now, all of these are serious situations and tough to deal with, and there's no getting away from that. But that's what life is about. We're here to deal with tough dilemmas, and it's about defining who we are in situations rather than, it's not about life being easy and lying in the hammock all day. Now, if Tom had resolved the girlfriend issue or gone some way towards doing that in the first 5 days, he'd have had a clear mind to focus on the work situation. If he'd cleared that in the 10 days, his mind would have been freer to focus on his father's health. But when these issues stay unresolved and they snowball one onto another, the effect is so much more powerful. Imagine if you were a country and you were being invaded. Now, in the old days, if it was just an army marching across the border, it's fairly straightforward to deal with. But today, you don't just have an army marching in, you have the Air Force landing down bombs on you, you have the Navy coming in from the other side. And so it's very much more difficult because you've got some forces there, and some forces there, and it's exactly the same with stress. It isn't that you don't have the capacity to deal with things, it's that you don't have the capacity to deal with 20 different things at the same time. You know, it may be one big issue, but it might be 20 separate elements to them. Now, focused attention is so much more powerful than diffused attention. Think about it. Don't you just love it when someone's intently listening to you, focused on you, and they're just giving you their full attention? And don't you just hate it when someone is, if you walk in a room, someone's talking on the phone, they gesture to you, or they're doing their emails while they're talking to you? Doesn't it seem rude, as if you're unimportant? And what's behind that is because you're noticing the difference in the power and the intensity of the 2 states. And in the same way, your mind recognises when you've given something enough issue, enough attention, that you've thought through all the intricacies involved in that situation, and then it can release its grip from having to have it in conscious memory. And so then you're free to respond to new situations. People often talk about being in the present, but people aren't in the present because they're still catching up with processing thoughts from the past. It's that they haven't got the speed of processing to be in the present. Now, you know that in every minute there's going to be new situations and new problems to deal with. So you have to get your mind clear as quickly as you can so that you're ready for them. If somewhere looks pristine and you make a mess, it stands out. And psychologically, no one wants to be responsible for making that mess. But when there's already a mess, people assume it doesn't matter so much, someone's got to clear that up, so they may as well do that as well. There's been a lot of research done on the link between graffiti, vandalism and crime. An area that's free of graffiti and vandalism is likely to have a lower crime rate because there's a perception that people take care of that environment, and so to vandalise or graffiti, you're more likely to get caught and the punishment is going to be more severe. Whereas in a more rundown area, the perception is that no one's really bothered, and look at all those other people have done it, and so there's much less chance of being caught and punished. Now, you have to start looking at fear, doubt, worry, frustration, anger, disappointment as your mental graffiti and vandalism. In later videos, we're going to look at the effect that these have on your body, and you'll see that the impact is literally a vandalism of your body. So what do you do about it? Well, you start by making the abstract concrete. A thought is intangible. It's very hard to see all sides of it, to look at it without a biased view. But when you write it down, or you draw it, or you mind map it, you make it more solid and tangible, and you can look more dispassionately and move past the clouded emotions that cloud your judgment and process it. Stage one of processing your thoughts is to list them, mind map them, or whatever works for you. But you have to capture every thought or word that crops up without any judgment or analysis. If you have a thought or a feeling, it's there for a good reason. And if you fail to recognise that reason, it's going to recur and increase in intensity until you recognise it and act on it. So you want to grab a pen and paper or whatever you prefer to use and write every random thought that crosses your mind without any judgment. If it's on your mind, it's important. It might not seem important, but there's got to be some reason behind it that your brain's holding on to it. So go with it, list it down. If you do this for 5 minutes or so until your mind quiets, when you've completed this, you'll almost always feel a sense of relief. Many of the thoughts that people hold are just attention seeking, and once they're given attention, it'll let them know that you're aware of the situation and it can rest. Others are just mental fidgeting, but by taking them away, you've just cleared them from sucking so much of your brain power away. And as you start to process them, you have more clarity and processing power. In the next video, we'll talk more about processing. Now, it's going to be easier to relate to if there's real life examples. So if you have a situation, whether it's real or hypothetical, that you'd like to know how I'd go about processing it, if you put your write your situation in the comments box below, and I'll do my best shot at how I would process it.